I love comedy, I love sales, I love Shark Tank, and I love Jay-Z, and that's it.
Tank walked into the tank looking for $500,000 for 10% of his social media-based board game. Here it is, and it's basically Candyland, but with a social media spin. You pick an influencer piece, you go around the board, and whoever has the most followers at the end wins. It's pretty self-explanatory, so let's go straight into the numbers. Depending on the amount of inventory he purchases, it costs between $4.97 and $5.47 to make. He wholesales it to stores like Target for $13.31, and in the tank, he said it retailed for $30, but it seems the price is now $19.99, which makes way more sense, in my opinion. The numbers were never super clear, honestly, so I don't know if they're profitable or not, but I'm pretty sure they're not. What I do know is that they'd been selling for around 2 months and were in 1,900 stores, and so far they'd only sold 1,500 units.
Yeah, it's not good.
Let's dive into the sharks. So apparently Tank is a social media influencer himself, and Mark immediately knew who he was, but Lori didn't, and it gave us this great moment.
Tell me about yours, because I do not follow you.
You do follow me. You follow Tank's Good News.
Oh, you're Tank's Good News.
Good News. Yeah, you do too.
Then Damon asks the important question of, why is this worth $5 million?
We're so new, I made the number up. I'll be dead honest with you, like, it's not a real number.
Mark says that he picked the wrong number. He thinks his numbers are ridiculous and says there's no way to see this as a good investment based off what they've been told. And for those reasons, he's out. Kevin thinks stores will end up delisting this because they're not going to be able to get enough profit out of it, especially considering the amount of retail space it takes up. Also, earlier in the pitch, Tank insinuated the sharks wouldn't know what influencers are, and of course Kevin has to call back to that.
But we all are influencers. I've got millions of followers.
We all say true.
Ultimately, Kevin agrees with Mark that the numbers just don't add up, so he goes out. This leads Tank to ask the sharks, why don't they think it's worth $5 million?
Because you're not making money.
Not yet.
Barbara points out that they have no idea what the future of sales will bring, and he's asking them to invest on a what-if. Lori agrees and tries to break it down for him. She says if he would have come in asking for less money, somebody probably would have taken a flyer on him. His response to that is that he couldn't have asked for less money because when they go into stores like Walmart, they're going to need the money to fill purchase orders.
That's not our problem.
No, but Tank, see, that's where you missed it. You don't watch enough Shark Tank, right?
Then it's Mark's turn to try to make Tank understand why $5 million makes absolutely no sense. He tells Tank for them to get back their $500,000, he needs to generate $5 million in after-tax cash flow, and that's super hard to do. Damon jumps in to point out that that's about $50 million in sales, and again, that's just them getting their money back.
Why would I just want my money back? If I give you $500,000, I want $5 million back. I want a 10x.
Lori says she loves social media and would have loved to have gotten behind this and supported.
And
You're
all of
speaking
that.
in past tense. I don't like that.
But at the end of the day, she thinks he hasn't proven that it'll sell, and for the amount of money he's asking, it's just too much of a risk, so she goes out. Damon becomes the third person to try and make him understand why this valuation makes no sense. He tells him for that amount of money, they could probably get a 70 to 90% stake in another game that hasn't been discovered yet. Once again, the money is just too much, and Damon's out. Lastly, we have Barbara, who thinks he's quick-witted and can make people laugh, and that's great for him in sales, but like the other sharks have said, it's just too much to ask off of only selling 1,500, so she's also out. And unfortunately for Tank, that means he leaves the tank without a deal. Final thoughts, I'll start with really my only good thing, and that's that I'm glad it's not selling for $30 because that just seems ridiculous for what this is. It's just not a high-quality board game. On the topic of his valuation, on his exit interview, he said he based his valuation off his following, and while that's still not a good answer, that would have been a way better answer to the sharks than, I just made it up. He says he loves and watches the show, but it's incredibly hard to believe after that dumpster fire of a pitch. Also, I have no clue who this man is, and I still don't know, so if you have seen him on your internet, let me know, because I guess he's just not part of my algorithm. But overall, this just doesn't seem like a game I'd play. It just doesn't seem very interesting. I don't know.
Next up is a stylish way to show your school spirit.
Ashley walked into the tank looking for $300,000 for 15% of her fashionable HBCU gear. Here are some of the different clothing options. Ashley attended an HBCU and saw a gap in the market for cool collegiate merch for them, and she decided she would fill that gap. She started with sororities and eventually branched out to getting licensing deals with different HBCUs. In fact, she's linked up with all the HBCUs that already have licensing agreements in place. They sell in different college bookstores, and then they're also in places like Dick's Sporting Goods, Follett, and Fanatics. Something I really like about it is they have multiple items of clothing that are reversible, like this jacket and the shorts, so you get a little 2-for-1 deal going on.
I tell you what gets me hot to trot is sales.
Into some numbers. The half-zip windbreaker costs $28 to make, and they sell for $110. The reversible shorts cost $30 to make and sell for $100, and the reversible jacket also costs $30 to make and sells for $165. However, it seems they've lowered their pricing since the tank, because now on their website, the windbreaker's $85, the shorts are $90, and the jacket's $135. They've been selling since 2017 and have done $3.3 million in sales. And yes, we do have a profitable company. They're profiting at about 25% of their sales. They also have a great deal with their manufacturer that they pay them after they get paid for the clothes. So that's a super sweet deal. Of course, this all leads into what do they want with the money? So she says part of it would be used to hire a fulfillment center that would do the packing and the labeling. That way her 5-person team isn't having to do that. Then the other part of it would be used for marketing. She feels she needs to get their brand out there to help them get more prominent spaces in the stores they're already in, and also to help convince the HBCUs they're not already partnered with to start doing licensing agreements with them.
Yeah, marketing won't change their mind. The sell-through will.
Time for the sharks. Lori once again says she hasn't done anything in apparel and doesn't see how she can help, so she goes out. I never ended up looking into if she was right about this or not, but it's like the third time she said it in the last couple episodes, so I just believe her at this point. Kevin sees it as an inventory challenge because the bigger they get, the more capital they're going to need to hold all the different SKUs they'll be offering. More licenses, more SKUs, more inventory, more capital. He says that's what he's learned about the clothing business, and it's just not a business he wants to be a part of, so for those reasons, he goes out. Damon says he's already in the business in certain aspects because he either advises or owns businesses in this area, and because of that, he doesn't feel like he can invest because it'd be a conflict of interest. So he goes out, but he does give her the idea to set up student ambassadors at each college who help sell the products, and I think that's some great advice. Mark thinks she's a superstar, and because of the people he knows through the Mavericks, he thinks he can help her and offers her $300,000 for 15%. Ashley counters for $12,000. And they end up making a deal for $300,000 for 12%. Final thoughts, I think most of the comments are going to talk about the price, but honestly, a lot of college apparel like this is just expensive, especially if it's well made. I went on the Fanatics website to look at some of my college merch and found the world's ugliest, most least interesting design for $85. So overall, I think the designs are really cool, and I hope Mark is able to help her grow and thrive with this business.
So what do you say, sharks? Let's cut the crop and get to tucking.
Brooke walked into the tank looking for $70,000 for 30% of her belt that makes any top into a crop top. So here it is. Pretty much it's a belt you can wear under your shirt, and you can tuck the bottom part of your shirt into it, and voila, crop top. You can also use it to give you that tucked in shirt look without adding bulk into your pants. She came up with it because she'd been trying to do that trend of tucking your shirt up into your bra to give you the same effect, but she struggled with it always falling out. If you want some good examples of it in action, I recommend going over to her TikTok because she has lots of different style examples. Let's get into some numbers. Landed, they cost her $5, and she sells them on her website for $30. They've been selling about 6 months and had $60,000 in sales, and once again, we have a profitable company. She said so far she'd made around $40,000 in profits. She attributes most of her sales to having gone viral on TikTok.
I'd like to make $1 million. I'd like to blow this up.
Time for the sharks. Mark thinks it's great and that his daughters will love it, but it's just not a fit for him, so he goes out. Lori thinks it's a clever idea, but just doesn't know how big the market really is for it. So she gives her famous line of, "Well, it's a great business for you. It's just not the right one for me." So she also goes out. Barbara loves how simple the business is, but is worried that tucking and cropping shirts is just a trend that will eventually fade away, and because of that, she's out. Kevin, though, is very impressed with her, and even though this isn't something that's really in his wheelhouse, he wants to take a chance on it and offers her $70,000 for 40%. Damon decides he's also interested, and Mostly he just wants to beat Kevin out of a deal and matches Kevin's offer of $70,000 for 40%.
Ooh.
Oh, neither of those was any good.
Guys.
You'd be crazy to take either one. You can counter.
Would you?
She decides to take Mark's advice and counters them for, wait for it, 39%.
39%?
Damon immediately snatches that offer up, and she makes a deal with Damon for $70,000 for 39%. Final thoughts. I really like this idea, honestly, and I bought one, so I'll be letting y'all know my experience with it eventually. Don't get too excited, because I did have to pre-order it. But I'm almost always wearing stuff tucked in, and I get super frustrated with my shirt when it gets untucked, and I hate the bulky feeling of sweaters tucked in, but I love the look, so I just usually endure it. When I was searching stuff for this video, I did see a few products that were kind of similar, but most of them were for keeping a shirt tucked in, or keeping yoga pants in place, or trying to make it look like you don't have a belt, which is a completely different use. I also found one that was more expensive and is using the Tucky Shark Tank as like a search engine tool to make you go to their website, but it's almost $70. Also, a lot of the other ones I saw did not have good quality reviews, so there's that. I'm really interested to see if it works, and I'll definitely be reporting back to y'all.
Sharks, I have a question for you. What do sugarless ice cream, low-salt turkey bacon, and cheese-free mac and cheese all have in common?
They were all bought by mistake because I didn't have my reading glasses with me at the supermarket.
Father and son, Mark and Kenzo, walked into the tank looking for $25,000 for 5% of their reading glasses you can wear on your wrist. Here it is, and yeah, they're just reading glasses that fold so you can keep them on your wrist for easy access when you need them. They're supposedly impact and scratch resistant, have a blue light filter and UV protection, all the fancy glasses stuff you'd expect. Overall, another very self-explanatory product, so let's just go straight into the numbers. Landed, they cost them $30.50 to make, and they sell them online for $110. It appears that currently they're on sale for $65. They've been selling for 9 months, and lifetime sales are $28,000. Once again, it wasn't super clear if they were profitable, but I don't think it's a bad guess to assume they aren't. So they don't have any outside investors, but the dad, Mark, has put in $630,000. You may be wondering, where did he get all this money to invest in this weird little thing? Well, friends, this man is the man who invented Gorilla Glue. He has since sold that company and still gets a royalty of the sales from it. So why are they here? Pretty much Mark says they aren't there for the money, they're there for their time, and gives this long emotional story about how his time is up and he wants to leave his son in good hands for building the business. Time for the Sharks, who for some reason that I do not understand are all super emotional over this. Lori was literally crying, but after she finally stops crying, she decides to offer them $25,000 for 10%. Kevin, also moved by the fact that time is real, also makes them an offer of $50,000 for 10%. Mark, the shark Mark, asks them what exactly it is they're needing from a shark, and they say they need help with how to get this out there.
I have that. I've done this.
But
I've walked this lane.
Who would you rather have as a mentor for your son, Lori or Kevin?
Shark Mark then points out that they all think it's a great deal, and the guys really have the leverage to make whatever kind of deal they want. Damon then calls Lori one of the smartest people he's met in his life, which honestly was a really sweet moment, and says he'll double Lori's offer if she allows him to go in with her, and she is down. However, Mark, the dad, thinks that 10% is just too much, as they're already practically giving away the equity just because they value the Sharks for who they are. Kevin then pipes up saying if they got 3 Sharks, would they be willing to go up to 10%?
I want in this deal too.
I mean, I'd love to be in the deal too, obviously.
Well, I don't want to be left out.
Then Kevin asks what equity they'd be willing to give up if they had all the Sharks in on the deal.
Okay, guys, why don't you step into the hall so the Sharks can talk this over? And you can talk it over, and we'll do some work here.
So give us 1 second.
Okay.
Sure.
After they step into the hall, Shark Mark points out that they aren't concerned about the cash. They're concerned about the equity. So he suggests Lori take 7%, He'll take 3, and everyone else can have 5%, which equals 25%. Then they'll all put in $25,000, equaling $125,000.
There's only one problem. He has never said he'd even entertain 25%.
In the hall, Dad Mark says he doesn't think they should go over 15%, which just seems wild to me. But they all reconvene, and the Sharks make their offer of $125,000 for 25%.
I can't wait to hear what he says.
They end up deciding to counter for 20%.
You got a deal.
And they leave the tank, having made a deal with all 5 Sharks for $125,000 for 20%. Final thoughts, I just don't understand why all the Sharks were so emotional and in on this. Like, yes, the passage of time is a thing, and we all deal with it, but also this man has Gorilla Glue money, so I just don't get it. I also just kind of think they look kind of dorky, if we're being super honest. And while they say the little baby stems don't hurt, I just don't believe that as somebody with a very sensitive noggin. Lastly, I'd still just forget these at home, even if they go on my wrist. I'm just gonna be like my grandma who had like 30 different pairs of reading glasses from the Dollar Tree and just put them all over the place. It honestly seems easier and way cheaper.